Okay, so I would like to show you the difference between a single frame simulation and an animated simulation. Now, here I have Dawn in a typical female position on a chair, pose. It's not quite such a simple pose. I don't care about the intersection here because normally this leg would squish together. Once I have the dress draped, nobody's going to see this. You can also see a tiny gap between her leg and the chair. Normally that should actually be straight, but I would have to use a deformer to get that correctly. It's best to have a tiny gap to allow for the fabric, because you need space for the fabric as well. And if you squish that together, you're going to have all kind of problems. For example, explosions because the stress is too big. So try to account for a tiny gap. Nobody's going to see it once you have simulated it anyway. So let's first do a single frame simulation. For that, I put the dress on Klara, and you can see unsimulated, that's nothing interesting. It's really not usable. This is a dress that needs to be simulated. Okay, so let's go to simulation. Normally, once you start the program, you will have the start pose from memorized pose on, and you have the duration for current frame. Quality and collision is not something that you need to worry at the beginning. So when we have these settings, that means the simulation will just be this pose. So let's start it and see what happens. We have here a slight problem with the dress snagging on the chair. Let's see how the rest goes. We have here a problem. Poke through here. Okay, doesn't look very promising. Let's see what it ends up with. Okay, intersection of the chair. Okay, it rectified itself. So that looks pretty nice as such. From this side, doesn't look too bad. I don't really like that pinch here though. But so the posing is finished, but now the program is relaxing the dress so that it stops moving, so that everything is just silent in the posing. So you can't stop that before. If you don't want to wait so long and you think that's good enough, it's hardly moving anymore, you just stop it before. Right, this bit looks good. And this bit has a bit of a problem here. This problem might actually derive from the pants. That's quite a nasty poke through here under the chair. It's not very nice, huh? Okay, so that looks a bit strange here. But if you don't look under the chair, that's not a problem. If I would like to have the figure looking from this place, this would be a problem for me. And with this dress, there is no real good way. We could try to cheat by moving the thigh. Sometimes that helps. The reason is the dress has been simulated in a very high dynamic strength. That means it has basically fallen away from its basic rigging. So if I move the leg, the rigging is not going to influence the dress, at least not in the tiny bit of position, so that I'm going to move it. So that's 109 minus 109. So does that mean I have to go higher or lower? I don't know. Let's just try it out. 108.5. Is that going down? Okay, it's going down. So you can see now we have eliminated the poke through from the leg, but not the poke through from the underlying cloth. Let's find out if that's actually the pants that we are seeing. So, Klara Dress. Because she has a pair of underpants, these undies are not strictly necessary if you are not going to sort of lift the skirt, so you can actually do without them. Let's turn them off. No, it's not the pants. So we have here a poke through. That could be a problem if we want to see the figure from this side. Now let's see what happens if we do that as an animation. I've already posed the figure. So I did not put in the pose at the 0 position, but at frame 15. Usually 15 frames are a good distance to do the simulation. Now, let's just see what happens when we do a animated frame. That means I have to change here to animated, and I need to use, at least I prefer to just turn off the start from memorized pose, because sometimes you do not want to start at the T pose. Maybe you want to start with something a little bit closer to the position where you end up. So you do not want to have this memorized pose. Let's simulate it and see what happens. So you see, one thing is she's actually dropping into the floor. Okay. Right. Now the cloth is relaxing as well. And it hasn't quite finished relaxing, but from this side it looks quite okay. From this side it looks quite okay too. And now if we wanted to, we could change this here so that the hand would actually be better positioned. It's not wise to do that at the beginning, because you really do want to avoid any intersection between the hand and the leg, because otherwise you're going to have all sorts of problems. So it's easier to do something like that at the end. Once you have simulated, you can always position the fingers and the hand so that they're really relaxed on the dress. Now actually I'm quite surprised, because it really worked straight from the beginning and I didn't get any problems. Okay, now this backside is really not very nice. Well, the poke through is one thing, but it's also too tight. It really does not look nice. With the single frame simulation, we had more pooling here at the bottom, which is more natural looking. So I would like to find a way that this is not so tight. Now the reason why this is so tight is probably because the chair moves, or she moves into the chair. The chair pinches her dress fairly early, and after that it's just tightening the cloth around her bum. So if we want to avoid this, we need to give the movement at the bottom more space. We have two possibilities. We might move the chair a little bit down so that it comes from lower down, is not tightening. You see, there's a lot later that the dress is being tightened. Maybe even a bit further back so that the dress that's typical. That's this strange roundish movement. We would have to change the keyframe. Okay. We also might try to give the Dawn herself a bit more air, the dress, I mean, because you see she sinks down and comes up again. We might get a better result if we try to avoid this sinking into the ground. Give the dress a little bit more air. So it will, because she is moving down, the dress will sort of float a little bit a moment, and that might give a better result. Let's see what happens when we simulate. Okay, the dress still has not finished relaxing. It's still too tight around the bum. If I wanted to give it more time to relax, I would have to add more frames here at the end, but I don't like that. Why is this so tight? Let me see. This kind of thing can become quite a bit of a She's moving backwards. She's falling backwards, and that might account for the tightness around the bum. If we would get her to move more down than back, we might get a different result. Which would mean I would have to change the pose of her to be more forward. Let's like see. Her ass is here. So it should have to be here. And the dress and the chair would have to be, let's say, here. Let's just remove that. Yeah. Let's see what happens when we do it like this. Now it's a lot nicer at the back. It's quite nice here too. If I want to have it like this, I rather like the folding. I don't like this so much, but yeah, it's still nice, as a render. It's definitely better than it used to be before, with the pinch on the bottom. And I would say, yeah, I would leave it at that probably.